Hello and welcome to episode 26 of Intruder Theatre in the Making podcast. I'm your host Remi Rachuba and thank you so much for tuning in. Now, this episode, but also episode 25 are bonus episodes, and in both of these episodes I share info on crowdfunding for anyone who would like to do a crowdfunder for their project. It could be an arts project or any other project that they would like to raise money for. Now, in the previous episode, I gave some really basic information on the crowdfunding. So I talked about why I did a crowdfunder, which platform I went for and why, what to bear in mind when you raise money, and, for example, when is the best time to do it. Now, in this episode, I would be focusing on the preparation for the crowdfunder and the actual campaign. So let's kick off with the preparation, and I'll be focusing on the communicating with backers, preparing the page, video, and I talk about the crowdfunding page, selecting perks the week before the campaign, and finally going live. And then I'll talk about the whole campaign. So, communicating with backers. This is actually quite interesting because, for any project that you do, you plan, you research, and you prepare yourself for it. In case of the crowdfunder, this is what I think, you also need to prepare your crowd. Prepare your crowd for what's going to happen. And how do you do it? What do you actually do? I think, and this is what I've heard and I've read, and it worked for me, the most important thing is to prepare your mailing lists. So get as many email addresses as you can. And how do you do it? Well, the first thing that you do is you look at your inbox and see how many email addresses do you actually have. So that'll be the very first thing that I would recommend anyone does. Now, this is actually tricky at the moment because when you think about it, you think, well, all the contacts that I've got are on social media, so Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, or any other websites that you use. So how do you do it? Well, I think one of the things that you could do, which I never actually did because I used to use email addresses, I was quite late as far as social media is concerned. So what you could potentially do on, let's say, Facebook, you could prepare and put a link for a sign-up list where you would put information that you're going to do a crowdfunder, and if anyone wanted to know more about it or, be sent info about the campaign, they could put their email address and they could get the info, and in this way you could get their email address. Now, did I do it? No. Would I do it? I don't think so. I know that some people do it and have done it. I wouldn't do it because I normally don't trust all these sign-up lists. I'm just sharing it because I know that some people have done it. It has worked for them. Now, if you don't want to do it, you could also maybe direct message people on Facebook Messenger and put a little bit of a paragraph explaining to them that this is what you were thinking of doing, and request or ask for people's email address. And if people give it to you, that's great. If people don't, that's fine. But it's also another way of approaching your potential backer. You can do it on Twitter, Instagram. It's really up to you. As far as Facebook is concerned, it's always very tricky because, to be quite honest with you, you don't know how the algorithm works and who is going to see a particular post, or, for example, that link, that sign-up link. You don't know how many people see it. I think it's very deceptive, and I will talk about it in a little bit later on. But I think that as a person who is doing a crowdfunding campaign, it is your responsibility to reach audiences, to reach your target and drive traffic. But whatever you do prior to your campaign or during your campaign, any activities, contacting people, emailing people, it's always important to bear in mind that you are increasing your chances of reaching your target. So once you've got all your email addresses, you would then communicate with your backer, and you wouldn't do it 1 or 2 weeks prior the campaign. Well, you could do it, but I'm not really sure whether that's very effective. You would do it maybe a couple of months before your actual campaign. 2, 3, 4 months, really up to you. Just to prepare them for what's coming. Now, how did I do it? Well, I didn't know how to do it, and I was doing research. And then Jonathan Wysocki said, Remi, don't you send like an email at the end of the year telling people what you've been up to? And I said yes. And he said, okay, well, maybe it's a great way to tell people that you are thinking of doing a crowdfunding campaign for your solo show. And I thought, oh yes, that's a great idea. So then, I had been thinking about my campaign that was September, October, November. And then in December, I sent a generic email to all my friends that I normally emailed, and I told them, what I've been up to, but also I included over there a very short paragraph telling them that potentially I may be doing a crowdfunding campaign for my solo show, and it was all dependent on the funding from the Arts Council England. I think by emailing people, it's a nice way of planting that seed in your potential backer that you can do something like that in the future. As I said, you can do it on social media when you do the sign-up list. If you don't have to do the sign-up list, or even you can announce it that you would be doing something like that. You can do it by email. I always think that a personal message or email to someone is the most effective. So I sent the email in December, and then I was just really waiting for the decision from the Arts Council England to tell me whether I got the funding or not, because my crowdfunder was dependent on that decision. In the meantime, as I said before, I was looking into various platforms and slowly thinking about, okay, if I get the funding, then I would need to work on my crowdfunder. The next thing that I did, I started slowly thinking about preparing my crowdfunding page. I was thinking, okay, when I get the funding from the Arts Council England, that means that I need to do my crowdfunder, and I didn't want to have a situation when I'm pressured to do things, because then it's crazy, it's very chaotic. So I really wanted to prepare myself just in case I get the funding, which was actually a very good decision, because I got the funding and then it was all very, very quick. So if you wanted to create a crowdfunding page, you would need to create an account on the crowdfunding platform. It's for free. You don't need to pay for it. And then you start building it up. It's not like you need to go live let's say right away. You create it as a draft and you only go live when you have it already. Now, just to be very specific, I had a website for my play, that is intruderplay.com, but at the same time, I created a crowdfunding page on Indiegogo, because there was no other way you can do your campaign. So then slowly you start building it up, and we're now going to talk about your crowdfunding page. So you set it up, you give it a title, you, I think, set up the target, which I think then you can change But one of the most important things to remember for the crowdfunding page is the video. Now, you don't have to do it. As far as I know, crowdfunding campaigns with a video are 4 times more successful than the pages without. So I would always say, if you're going to do a campaign, invest in creating and making a video. I did it all by myself. The video, it was quite straightforward. It took me a couple of days. It wasn't that I just recorded it and it was perfect. I had a tripod and I could record it myself, so I really didn't depend on other people to help me with it. I mean, the only people that helped me were my friends who watched that video and gave me feedback. Apart from that, I recorded it on my own, I prepared it, and then I sent it to them for feedback. It took a couple of days. It wasn't easy because, you prepare it, something works, something doesn't, and then you fluff some lines, and I really wanted to make one continuous take, so it wasn't that easy to begin with. But once it was done, I was really quite happy with it. And then once I had that video ready, I uploaded it on Vimeo, and Indiegogo has this nice function where you can embed, I think, that video, so it was quite straightforward. So now what I'd like to do is to give some video tips. Now, a couple of things to bear in mind. The video should be short, 2-3 minutes. My crowdfunding video is 4 minutes and a half, which is slightly longer. When I watched it recently, I was thinking if I would change anything about it. The only thing that I would probably do again is to include captions, because now I think everyone watches content online and people don't have audio everywhere, so maybe I would include captions. Apart from that, I wouldn't change it. I think it's quite funny, I like it, it's longer, but there were some funny elements in it. But I would always make sure it's short. 2-3 minutes, maybe 4 minutes, but as long as it is engaging, that's another thing to remember, and punchy. And what to include in the video. And in the video, you would be talking about the project, how much you're raising, how you're going to spend the money, why it's important, and why you and why now. We need to get your story, and there needs to be an urgency in the crowdfunder. So in my case, the urgency was that if I'm not going to raise the money, then I can't do my project. I can't put on my play, because that was one of the conditions from the Arts Council England, telling me that they need to see that I'm going to do a crowdfunder. I didn't know how it was going to work, so I used it in my video that this is the condition, and if I don't raise the money, then I can't do my project. And I've been working on my play for 11 years, so actually people knew that, wow, it's such a long time, it needs to happen. And that's what people messaged me when they supported my crowdfunder. So when the video is ready, you upload it, and then you start working on your crowdfunding page. Now, you can look at my crowdfunding page and you can copy the subheadings that I have. I don't really mind. I looked at other crowdfunding pages and I also copied certain things from other pages, the subheadings, because it's always the same. It's just that the story, your story, is different. So just looking at my crowdfunding page, what I had, I put there the gist, I had Remi's story, the influences, why is this play important? So I talked about the themes of the play, reactions, because we had really quite nice comments about my play, the journey so far, because I've been working on my play for 11 years. I had bios, of my artistic team, which I copied and pasted from the website for my play. So that was quite straightforward. I had a subheading called Already Supported because a couple of articles appeared in local media, so Polish magazines and newspapers, and I had a question: why do I need your help? I created a special pie chart just to illustrate how I'm going to use the money, and at the very end I had some social media handles. Now, you can do it this way, you can do it your way. I know that some people put social media handles at the very beginning just so that people can go on social media right away and read more about the project. But I think what's really, really important is to remember that these messages, these paragraphs need to be very personal, because we need to get your story. I was initially dreading it, just thinking about, oh my God, I need to write so much. But then literally I just wrote it how I felt, and I think that's the most important thing. So once that was done, I was working on my perks, and perks are things that you promise you would deliver to your backer for an amount of money that they're going to give you. So when you look at my page, you can see the following perks, which I initially researched. I didn't know how to do it, what to include. It's very rare that you would see a crowdfunder for a play. Most of the time, what I saw was a crowdfunder for a feature film. And what I included, which I copied sometimes from other pages, was social media shout-out, behind-the-scenes footage, intruder poster, which I would, for example, email to my backer, intruder postcard that I would post to my backer, one ticket to see intruder script once the script was locked. I also had a perk of meeting me, creative consultation, and sponsor credit. That's what I had. It's up to you. I know it's not easy. I know a lot of people asked me about it, but you can do whatever you want. It's really up to you. It was everything that I needed to prepare for my crowdfunding page. It was just waiting to go live. But there was one more thing that I did before I went live. So you remember I was talking about emailing my friends and people that I knew in December, and I didn't email anyone until 1 week before my campaign went live. You could do it 1 week or 2 weeks before your campaign goes live, but I think it needs to be quite close to when you're going to, launch your campaign. Everything that you do prior going live or launching your campaign is part of your pre-launch campaign. That's what they say. 1 week before the campaign, I emailed everyone from my mailing list, and I sent personal emails to people. It took a couple of days because it was about 300 or 400 emails, but in this way you engage with people on a personal level, on an individual level, which I think there is no better way of approaching someone. Of course, you would do it on social media as well. You would announce that, next week I'm doing my campaign, but it's that email that would help you and increase your chances of reaching your goal. So 1 week before the campaign goes live, I email people individually, and it's also important to remember that these emails that you sent, they need to be very short, sweet, and succinct, just like that video that you recorded. You don't want to be writing essay emails because nobody has time to read them apart from your mum and dad and maybe someone else. It's all about that engagement. When anyone gets it, when they get it on the phone, they read it and they know what it's all about, rather than they just keep scrolling and then they go, okay, I don't have time. Because it's all about connecting with people. It's all about you telling them why it's important to support you and support your project. So that email is very crucial, because just like in the video, you put a written version of what is in the video. So you take the same steps, you tell people why now, when, what's the reason, but you really put it succinctly. And that's what I did in the week leading up to my crowdfunding campaign. I was sending emails, and that took about 3 days. I was literally copying and pasting that one email. I changed people's names, of course. I put some personal messages as well, so that, it's not just one generic email. I wanted to make it more personal if I knew what was happening in someone else's life. And at the same time, I was working on my crowdfunding page. And I was actually quite busy. So, as I was saying before, it's a 24-hour job. Once that was ready, I went live with my campaign on a Saturday, unofficially, so I never announced it to anyone. I just really wanted to see how it all works, whether it's that simple, which was quite straightforward. I pressed the button go live, and yes, that was it, and I announced it officially on social media on Monday. But that's the next bit that I'm going to focus on, which is the actual campaign. And what I'll be focusing on is day 1, social media posts, behavior of backers including bilingual speakers, lull periods, and donation strategies. So day 1, as I said, I already had the link, and it was just a matter of putting it out there. Now, the very first thing that I did was I posted the link to my crowdfunding campaign on all my social media, that is Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, with some info about it. I had never put any info on my crowdfunder before the campaign on my social media channels, because as I said before, I only used my emails, so all my contacts would have got info about my campaign via email. If I was doing a campaign again, I would definitely use email and my social media to let people know that I was going to do a crowdfunding campaign for my project. One of the things that I found out about Facebook, which I hinted at a little bit earlier on, was the amount of people who are going to see your post, because you don't really know how these algorithms work. What is the reach for your post? That is very, very tricky. This is another reason why I think that direct email is the most effective way of increasing your chances of reaching your goal. I also found Facebook very tricky and deceptive in terms of likes, because I would see likes under my post, but in fact, people didn't support me financially. They didn't pay me money. And that was very disappointing at the very beginning. I could not understand how it was working. I would always be thinking, if someone likes it, they would help me. But they didn't. So that was something to bear in mind. So then you've got the crowdfunding link, and you can post it in various places. Now, this is what I think. Day 1 is your first day of the work that you're going to do. It's not the end, it's just the very beginning. I've had some people who contacted me and asked me, Remi, where do I post the link? Well, it's not only about posting the link, it's about the work that you do, because it's your responsibility to reach your crowd and drive traffic. It's not only about posting the link and just hoping that, people are just going to pay me money. I don't think it works like that. Maybe you can be lucky and, people would give you money right away. I think it's all about driving traffic and keeping that momentum going. So you can post the link in various places. You could possibly post it in other Facebook groups. You could go to various bloggers. You could potentially go to your university or school which you attended and ask them to put it in a newsletter that they've got, some kind of an e-newsletter. You could go to, I don't know, your company where you work, or you did some training somewhere and ask them to put the link there, or put it on Twitter or Facebook. It's interesting because I'm in a playwriting UK group, and I'm just thinking, would I post my link over there? Potentially. Everyone in that group is very, very nice, so I gather they would be willing to support me. That also means that if someone posts a similar link, I would be expected to support them as well. This is what I think. So it's always good to think or consider, before you post somewhere, what would be expected of you. Now, the other thing that is interesting is that I was, my play is on mental health. So I was thinking maybe going to various organizations who would tweet about my crowdfunder. Now, I did that. I approached a couple of organizations, but they said that, we're not actively engaged in your project, and we wouldn't be reposting that link. That's interesting. Also, I was recently doing an Eventbrite on crowdfunding, and I went to a couple of theatres and I asked them to maybe retweet that post about that event. And a couple of theatres came back to me and said, Remi, we have so many requests about crowdfunding campaigns that we don't do it. And I said, well, it's not a link about a crowdfunder, it's a link on how to tell people how to do a successful crowdfunder, and they never came back to me again. People who came back to me were the people that knew me, and they were very, very willing to retweet a post about that event on crowdfunding. So maybe it's always good to remember that, people who know you would support you. People that don't know you maybe wouldn't be very, very willing to spread the word. But maybe it's just me. I'm just saying it as it was in my case. So you've got that link, you post it everywhere, you go to various places that know you or that know your work, and then you ask them for a favor to retweet, or repost, or reshare, whatever. But the most important thing that I did that day was to go back to my mail lists and once again email my people individually, like I did a week before. Now, on the very first day, I didn't email people, like I didn't send a very long email. It was very short and succinct. I don't remember whether it was a group email or a personal email. I think it was a personal email again. And I told people that this is day one of my crowdfunding campaign for my play, and I included the link to my crowdfunding campaign, and I said that I'll be very, very grateful for their help. And this is it. Once again, 300 or 400 emails. It took me a couple of days to do. I just changed the names and copied and pasted everything. One thing to remember about direct emails is that you would distinguish a couple of groups when you email people. So the first group is your family and friends. The second group is people that would support you financially after receiving one email. The third group is people that you've emailed ever in your life. And the fourth group is maybe organizations and businesses that I'm going to focus on in a couple of minutes. So a couple of groups to bear in mind when you email people, and I think the significance of that direct email, that direct communication. So day one, everything's going on social media. I'm emailing people directly, but I can already see people are paying money, which was amazing. And the next thing that I was doing, and that was actually at the end of day one, I started creating social media posts to let people about what's happening and how much money I've got. Because people want to know. I mean, people who are not giving you money, they are very, very interested in whether you're going to reach your target. So by the end of day one, I'm just checking my info. I reached 12% of my goal, which was amazing. And then right away, I created a social media post to tell people about it. My social media posts were in English and in Polish, and I used Canva, an amazing app to create social media posts. It's for free. You can set up your account, and it works brilliantly. Canva.com. So from that moment on, I kept the momentum going throughout the whole campaign until the very last day, creating posts, letting people know what's happening. This is what your job is. This is your responsibility. Because if you don't do it, it just dies down. And very often people say, well, I didn't reach my goal because I just posted the link somewhere. Well, someone should have kept it going, because this is how you reach your goal. So, of course, day one, day two, day three, sometimes you reach a particular goal and then, you are hoping that you're going to reach 30% and you're not going to do it. That's how it is. One of the things to also remember is that it's not always that the campaign would be, that people would be paying you money all the time. No. Maybe at the very beginning, yes. But then, at some point, there is a lull. And there is no donations. People don't pay you money. As I was saying before, it's very useful to start a campaign on a weekday because people are at work and they like to get distracted at work. People go away at the weekend, so you don't see many donations during the weekend, and I experienced it myself, and this is what I was told, so something to bear in mind. And you keep going. You're focusing on your target and communicating with your backers and keeping that momentum going. So first week, I just checked, I had 37% raised and 84 backers. Yes, correct. So that was amazing. I didn't know anything about it. I was told that, you know what, it's great. That is perfect. That's what you want at the end of week one. So I had 2 more weeks to go, which was brilliant. So then, of course, I moved on to week 2. Now, one of the things to always remember, and when you do a crowdfunding campaign, you will be familiar with it, or you will be able to see that each platform has an update service. What that actually means is that when someone pays you money, they become part of your family. So they are part of your project. And then a very good thing to do is to inform your backer that already is giving you money, to share with them what's been happening with your campaign, because maybe they can share your campaign with someone else. And I always think it's very useful and helpful to let them know how the campaign is going. Once someone gives you money, you don't harass them for money again. It happened to me twice. I was asking people for money, and then they gave me money, and I went back to them again, and then they said to me, Remi, I've already given you money. It's not a good thing to do. It happened to me twice. I would always make sure that someone checks, okay, they gave me money, I need to cross them off the list and I don't ask them for money. But everyone is human, we all make mistakes, and everyone knows that, it's a lot of work. But coming back to the update service, always important to keep your backer in the loop about what's happening, but not necessarily sending them emails and messages about, asking them for money. Week 2, halfway through, well, from the beginning, I see that there isn't loads of payments. There, people are not paying in. So I was wondering, okay, is it normal? It's not normal. And I've been reassured, no, Remi, it's fine. Don't worry about it. This is what happens. Don't panic. And I also thought, okay, is there any other way that I can help my backers, potential backers, support me? And one of my friends said, you know what, you can do an angel donor day. And I didn't know what it was, and then they explained it to me, and then I created a post which said, for every new backer we get, an angel donor will match the backer's pledge and your support is doubled. Now, what it actually means is that when someone pays £20, there will be a matching donation of £20. Now, when I saw it, I could not understand, because I was asking, okay, so who would be paying the remaining £20? And my friend said, well, no one. That's the whole thing. You make people think that they are paying you £40, but they only pay you £20, which initially I actually found it was kind of weird, but then I thought, you know what, let's see how it works. And the bottom line was that was very, very effective, because I emailed people and let them know about it, and after that post went live, I saw an increase in payments. So that was interesting, something maybe worth considering doing. So when I saw that lull, I created a post for Angel Donor Day, and then what I did was I put it on social media, and also I went back to my mailing lists, and then I emailed my contacts about it. The posts about Angel Donor Day I put on my social media channels, and I included it in the update to my backers, just in case they wanted to forward it to some of their friends who could support me. Now, as I said, second week, a little bit of a lull, so I started thinking, okay, what else could I do to actually maybe increase my audience? Maybe I could get more people. So then I start doing some research. So I went to my secondary school friends, which I had never thought about before. And I had recently been to a school reunion, so I emailed my friends, and one of them gave me £500. That was incredible. The other thing that I did was I contacted big actors and celebrities, especially people who support similar causes. In my case, one of the themes of my play is the restorative justice system, so I contacted quite a lot of agents of big Hollywood people and also Polish actors, footballers who could support me. The agents said that they would forward these emails. I had never heard from them, but at least I knew that I was doing something in that direction. So I would always say, go to people, ask them for help, because you never know who's going to connect with your work. The other thing that I also did was I tried to approach various businesses, because I thought, okay, if I'm going to do my play in the UK, maybe if a company supports me, I could maybe promote their services as well and put the company's logo on my poster. I talked about it before in my previous podcast episode, but I also thought that maybe as part of the crowdfunder I could provide these services as well. I went to a couple of companies and they said no. I always think it's even great to offer it to your friends, because maybe some of your friends or family have a business and they support you, and in return you can support their companies and put the company logo on the poster. Why not? It's a great way of doing something if someone supports you, and then you can do something in return. I always think it's a good thing to do. So there was a couple of things that I did during the second week, and all of a sudden I saw an increase of payments. I gather it was to do with this Angel Donor Day, and also because I did these emails, I sent all the messages, and I really kept the momentum going. One more thing that I never mentioned before, you can go to my play's social media handles, Intruder Play, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and you can see the posts that I created for my crowdfunder. I think that maybe Instagram would be the best bet, because you can scroll down and then you would see these posts right away. I think it would take longer on Facebook, on Twitter. One of the things that I saw happen during the second week was that I started receiving loads of messages from people from Poland. I come from Poland, so of course there was a big group of friends and family who lived there, and they wanted to support me, but they were saying that, what, is there any other way that we can pay you the money? And I was always referring them to the crowdfunding page, and they kept saying yes, but no, but I don't know, we don't want to use this page. And I said, why? And they said, well, because we are afraid of online fraud. And I was thinking, oh yeah, I know about it, but nobody by that time had messaged me about online fraud. It only was from people from Poland. I don't know why, whether, online fraud it happens there more on a regular basis, but there was a number of people, and I think maybe there were 20 people, who messaged me and asked me whether there was any other way that they could support me. And I just thought, what, okay, what can I do to facilitate it? And then I thought that maybe my mom could help. So my mom became a crowdfunding assistant. I gave my friends my mom's bank details and telephone number, and they transferred the money to her bank account, and then she transferred the money to my crowdfunder, giving me their email addresses. So in this way, they became part of the crowdfunder. I never saw that happening. I never saw that coming. I've never heard of anything like that. However, because it was such a big group of people, I didn't want to kind of ignore it, and I wanted them to be part of my crowdfunding campaign. I'm sharing it because maybe it's something that could happen when you do your crowdfunder. I was actually thinking about it later on, and I was thinking, if I was doing another crowdfunder, would I maybe open or have another crowdfunding page in Poland? But then I thought, well, you know what, it's tricky. I would have to have other costs on the other platform, possibly I would only do it on one website. But something to bear in mind, it could happen. You never know. Some other things that I noticed when I was doing my crowdfunder, I had my family and friends support me, and everyone was like, yeah, Remi, it's great, it's amazing, you're gonna get it, you're going to reach your target, but then they were not paying me the money. And I was wondering why they're not supporting me. And it was only halfway through, and they were like, yeah, we're gonna do it. But I was just thinking, I mean, if they want to support me, they would be the first ones to pay me. Of course, I thought, it's only halfway through, but then I was thinking, why are they delaying it? And I could not understand it. I found it quite confusing, disappointing, upsetting, because on the one hand, I knew that they would pay me the money in the end, but then on the other hand, I could not use the information in my social posts at all. So instead of saying that I've got 100 backers, I could only say I have 90 backers. So I could not use the information in any way. It was interesting. I noticed it mostly with family and friends. I don't know whether it's something to do with the fact that some people want to be the very last ones to pay you the money. So they want to be the people that will think that, you know what, it's because of me you reach that goal. So they want to be the last ones to put that cherry on the cake. I don't know. It's something to bear in mind, to remember that maybe family and friends wouldn't be the first ones to pay. So I've got 7 days left. I'm just checking my posts. I had 62% funded and 118 backers, which was amazing. And then going into the final week, the weekend was ahead of me. I knew that, people went away, so not a lot of people would be paying. I was used to it already. So 5 final days. Again, we've got a lull, which I was already used to. I knew, okay, it's happening. I think when I had that lull in that third week, I did the Angel Donor Day post again. It helped a little bit, but there was one other thing that I did. As I said, you might remember my crowdfunder was finishing on a Friday. Also to do with the fact that, during the weekend there isn't a lot of donations. So going ahead with the final week, 5 days left, and then towards the end of the campaign, what I've been told to do, which could be treated as one of the strategies, is you do a countdown. So countdown till the end of the campaign. You can do it, 3 days, 2 days, before your campaign finishes. You could say 3 days left, 2 days left, 1 day left. The way I did it was I was more specific, so I put a number of hours on my social media posts. So I said, we've got 70 hours left, because I think that when it's more specific, it gives a little bit of more urgency to the project. I also think that, when you say 3 days left, depending where people live, whether it's America, Europe, Australia, it could be treated differently. I think when you're more specific, maybe it's easier for people to imagine when it's finishing. So I then started creating posts for the countdown, and then I reached out to my mail lists, and I sent, I think, personal emails again. You could do personal or group emails, and I let them know that this is it, their campaign is finishing, this is the final reminder. I think I probably just put it in the subject of that email, and this is the very last chance for people to support me, and I put there the link to the crowdfunding campaign. Now, I did it because I knew that some of my friends who did their crowdfunding campaigns did exactly the same, and I remember when they emailed these final reminders, I paid the money then. I'm actually quite good with emails, but when I got these final reminders about the campaigns, it was that moment where I thought, oh my god, I need to pay the money, and I did. So I knew that, you know what, countdown and final reminders to my contacts. So, of course, it took a couple of days, 2 days to copy and paste, only to the contacts that still didn't pay the money. I never harassed people who had supported me already. So that was one thing. I put it on social media, and I also put it in the update to the people that had already supported me, not telling them to, well, not asking them to give me the money, but just reminding them that the campaign is coming to a close. And because of that, I saw an increase in payments and people chipping in. So it was 24 hours left, and I had 84% funded, which was amazing. But of course I was thinking, oh my god, I think this is it. I have no idea if I could still do it. Will people be able to help me? It was all very, very tricky. So yes, these payments are coming in. It was incredible, and I had the final 10% left, so £800. And I really didn't know what to do. And there was one thing that someone suggested, which I think was one of the best things that I've heard of. So I already had more than 200 backers. I had £800 left. And, I was, keeping the momentum going and posting. And someone said, you know what, Remi, you know what you can do? You can go to your backers, already people that supported you, and say to them, listen, people, we have £800 left. If each of us pays £4, that is it. That's us done. Because you know what? If people paid you money and supported you, they want you to succeed. They want to be a part of your success story. So of course they're going to support you. And it's only £4. It's not a lot of money. And when I did that, a lot of people emailed me back and said, of course, Remi, how much do you need? £4. Let me give you £10. Let me give you £20. And all of a sudden, I saw an increase in payments, and everything was going up. And because of that increase, I then created posts that told people about we have 95%, 96%, and all of a sudden I think people started seeing, oh my god, he's got 2% left. What else can I do? Maybe I can give him £10, and people who've already paid, they gave me more money, and I saw people paying in and messaging me on social media, and I think, everyone would pay. If you saw a campaign and someone says, I've got, 2% left, would you support me? I was messaging people on Facebook Messenger, just telling them, hey, I've got 3% left. I sent so many messages that Facebook blocked me, twice actually, and they unblocked me and blocked me again, because it was let's do it, let's make it happen. And throughout the day, and it was Friday, I was really just sitting at home, just messaging people and asking about it. And then at 8 o'clock on a Friday, my cousin, who had already supported me, she paid me the money, and I reached my goal of £8,000. Of course, people were still supporting me. There were still donations coming through. So this is why I ended up with more than £8,000, because probably just people saw, yeah, I want to support him, I want to be a part of it, which was great. And then I created that one big post telling people that yes, we've made it. It was amazing. I was exhausted by the end of it. So I shared it on social media, told people about it. I put it in the update on the crowdfunding page, shared it with my backers that we were done. I never harassed anyone about any more money. I was relieved, I was elated, I was drained, I was exhausted emotionally because it was so much work. I could not believe it that I managed to do it. I believed that I could do it, and I think it's always important that you believe you can do it. If you believe it, you can do anything. Because a couple of people before my crowdfunder were quite skeptical about me doing a crowdfunding campaign, but I believed in it and I did it, and I'm very proud of it. And for anyone who says, you know what, £8,000 is not a lot of money, well, for me it is. And what I did, I think it was amazing, and I'm very, very grateful to all my friends who supported me, or the people that, well, helped me make my dreams come true. After it finished, I had a drink, I had a weekend to recover, because, you know, you recover from it, and then on Monday I start rehearsals for my play. So that's the whole journey of my crowdfunder, this kind of crowdfunding close-up, because I looked at the whole campaign in detail. I hope you found it useful and helpful. Maybe you can get something from it, some strategies if you are thinking of your own crowdfunding campaign. Maybe you can do similar things, or you can do something different. I shared what worked for my crowdfunder, what I've been told by people who've run very successful crowdfunding campaigns. Until recently, I was always dreading an idea of even doing another crowdfunder, but because I did an Eventbrite where I talked about crowdfunding, and because of the podcast, I needed to explain to myself how it all works. And because of these things, the Eventbrite and even now the podcast, I don't dread it so much. It all makes sense to me. That's an interesting thing. Maybe I'll do another crowdfunder, but definitely I would know now how it all works, and maybe I could play with certain things. Maybe I would repeat certain things. Maybe I wouldn't do certain things. You never know. But I hope you found my episode 26 and also episode 25 beneficial in your own process, whether it's artistic process or journey or any other journey you are on. And I wish you all the best and good luck with your projects or any crowdfunding campaigns that you're going to do. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to contact me. I'm more than willing to share with you, to talk to you about my crowdfunder. Maybe I can give you some tips and advice. It's always different when you email someone or speak to someone on the phone. I'm very open to being contacted about it, and you will be able to find my email address in the podcast description. So, stay well, stay safe, and I'll speak to you in episode 27. Bye for now.